Hello, I am Nicole, Ayers, a committee member of the Authentic Voices program, which is a fellowship that highlights diversity in publishing. And we're doing that by bringing authentic voices to the table in an educational, immersive, equity building program. Authentic Voices is sponsored by the Women's National Book Association and also the Women of Color Writers. And it is my immense pleasure to introduce Alaa Al-Barkawi, who is one of the fellows in this inaugural year of the Authentic Voices Fellowship. So she writes Iraqi kidlit fiction while also serving as a fellow for Bookend's literary agency. When Alaa isn't working on books, you can find her advising first-generation college students at a community college. So welcome.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thank you for being here and congratulations on receiving one of these coveted spots in the Authentic Voices program.
Thank you.
Well, I would love to just tell us a little bit about the story that you've been working on during the program.
Yeah, so this story is honestly about gossip, secrets, and belonging. So the plot is the story about a married woman who's established in her small knit Iraqi diaspora community in America, and she's forced to bring back a young divorced acquaintance back into her life. And so really the story is kind of about how she and others are judging this young woman who is re-entering their society.
Oh, I'm ready to read it now. That sounds amazing because we all have secrets, right? That we are helping, that we navigate and what we're working through. Very cool. Well, tell me, what is it about this story that you want readers to take away? Like, why is it so important to that we hear stories like this from a voice like yours?
Yeah, so I mean, growing up, so I'm Iraqi American and I came to the United States when I was young. And so I grew up here. And so I grew up in this diaspora community. And so I really just wanted to explore some of the different women that I, surrounded my life with. And that's both in a positive and negative way. I think there's a lot of beautiful friendship here. But there's also a lot of social pressures here as well, specifically about, marriage and kind of how that creates your status. And so it was really normal for me to grow up around people who were getting married around 16, 17 years old. And even when I was young, I thought that would be my life too. I totally was yeah, that's totally normal. That's gonna be my life. And then I'm not really sure what happened, but I kind of awakened from that. But I grew up around a lot of people who didn't. And so what I wanted to honestly just explore was this other type of life that's not spotlighted a lot. A lot of my stories are typically about US imperialism and the politics of what it means to be Iraqi, but this story is not really about that. The story is more about exploring some of those hidden things that can happen in your childhood, and kind of it grows up with you and it creates these pressures around you and honestly shapes the kind of person that you can become. And so that's what I kind of did with this story, and that's kind of what I do with a lot of my writing is I try to explore the lives I think I could have had, but didn't, and it was because of just small little decisions. But I think I could have gone in a lot of different directions that some of my characters are going through in the story.
Oh man, that's what I love so much about reading always was it was these glimpses into other people's lives, into other people's secrets, but it was very much sometimes like a mirror of, oh, if only this thing had been different, I could have done that, or I would have done this, and then where would I be? So I love that you're bringing that commonality into the theme of this particular story. And that's about women. That's so cool. I'm so excited to read your contribution. Does it have a title yet?
It's called The Disappearance. So
now, I'm even more
that's also
now.
kind of it's kind of another theme in there, which is kind of this ominous theme, but it's kind of about what it means to run away from home too. Yeah. Which was also something common growing up around, was everyone was either scared that girls in our community would run away or people did run away, and kind of what that means. And sort of where does that responsibility fall? And that's actually a theme I explore in all of my work. And so whenever I'm writing, I'm just like, this is something I would probably bring to my therapist later because I just constantly am thinking about this all the time.
But writing is a way to heal too, always.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Well, and I love too the idea of disappearance. Like when we choose certain paths, sometimes and we abandon ourselves and we disappear in that way too. And I don't know if that shows up in this story, but I just was thinking of that as well. Cool. I'm very excited to read this.
Thank
So
you.
tell me, what drew you to apply to Authentic Voices?
Yeah, I think, and I mean, don't hold me to this. I think this is what happened. I think I was on Twitter and one of my favorite writers had retweeted like the application. And I was like, oh, this sounds really awesome. I'm just gonna click on it. And also she's one of my favorite writers. So like anything she's promoting, like I want to be a part of that.
Yeah.
And she's a Palestinian writer. And so I just like have a lot of love for her and all the themes that she works on.
Do you want to name her?
Yeah, it's Sahar Mustafa. I think it's her. If it's not you, Sahar, I'm sorry, but I think it was you who tweeted it. But when I saw it, I just immediately was like, this is definitely something I'm going to apply for. It was something I wasn't exactly looking for at the time, but it just felt like it fit perfectly. So I went to a liberal arts college that was super white, and I studied creative writing, and all of my classes were, all my classmates were white. And so outside of my professor, and so even my professor would be like, I know the feedback you're getting is not necessarily the feedback you're wanting because people are kind of stuck on the fact that you're writing about characters of color and they can't see past that.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was like, to be surrounded by women of color for the specific fellowship was super special because I wanted to be surrounded by other writers of color, specifically women of color, because I know a lot of us are writing around similar themes, but we all have like really specific ways that we take that on. And so I just knew this was a program I wanted to be a part of. And it was really funny because I usually don't feel this way when I apply to stuff. I'm always like super doubtful. I'm like, not going to get in. But when I was applying to this one, I was like, I just know I'm going to be a part of this. I don't know why, but I just feel it. And I just like, even when I was waiting to get like the email confirmation that I got in, I just was like, no, I'm going to get an email saying I got in. And it was weird. And I did. But I've never had that experience before. So it's just like spiritually, I was just like, I felt something with this when I just first saw it.
You were meant to be here and be a part of it. That's amazing. I love that. Well, it sounds like it's been a positive experience. What overall, how has it been?
Yeah, it's been an amazing experience. Like each week we're getting together via Zoom, getting to know each other in our writing. And we've had incredible instructors. So Mireya has been one of our instructors she helped me so much with my story. I can't even describe from when it started to what I turned in last week, as well as Raquel, who is another instructor of ours. And then Natalie, who has been just an amazing rock and supporter for all of us. But also the other women in the fellowship, they've all been amazing, really supportive. Just getting to know them and getting to know what stories that they're working on has just been an incredible support. Like it's something I always look forward to, and it just feels special. Like I just like know I'm around really special people, and I just feel really honored to be around that.
Yeah, I love it. I love that so much that it's worked out that way. I know a few of the people, that are like Natalie really well and stuff, and they're just amazing women to learn from and to write with and commune with. Awesome. Well, we'll wrap it up with one last question. So have you had a favorite experience or something that was just really impactful that you're going to carry with you even when the program's over?
I'm trying to think of like one specific thing just because I'm like, it's all been really special.
Sure.
But one of my favorite parts, I think, was when we were first starting out and we were still drafting our stories and still kind of coming up with the ideas. But I know Mireya had kind of this little exercise where we were just sharing our first lines with each other. So like didn't know what else was really going on with anybody else's story, but just like the very first line. and just feeling gutted by every single person's first line and just like imagining what they were writing about was just so beautiful. And it just taught me like just how important that was, how important it was to refine that. Um,
Mhm.
and she was always so great about, giving us other works to look at, and be inspired by. And so I just love hearing other people's like first lines or just lines from their work. It's just so special, especially when it's something that hasn't been shared into the world yet. So you just feel like you get this specific special glimpse from them. Yeah, I
Yeah.
really love that.
Yeah. Awesome. That sounds like a beautiful experience. Well, thank you so much for sharing just a little piece of your part of the journey. And I am cheering you on. And I know the folks who are going to be watching this are going to be as excited to read Disappearance as I am. And I just wish you all the very best. So thank you so much tonight for being here.
Of course, thank you for having me.